there have been several that have been looked at. This is one of those things that some studies say, this one is important, some studies say, well, that one isn't important, but this one is. Low copper diets have been one of the things that they've kind of agreed on, but there's a lot of things that one study implicates and the other one doesn't, so it's a little confusing. Genetics, remember I said like the thoroughbreds and the warm bloods, it tends to run in those general breeds, and it tends to run in some breed lines. So, you know, this sire tends to have a lot of babies with some of these. Is it purely genetic? No, it needs other factors too, but you do see it genetically influenced, because some, you know, some family groups will have it more than others. Hormonal imbalances. Okay. So failure of vascularization, as basically in utero and even in development afterwards, something happens to disrupt the vascular supply to that cartilage, leading to that becoming necrotic, as we alluded to. I think we kind of said this before. So biomechanical forces are necessary on top of the other stuff, rather than just a sole cause. So it's not that you had a perfectly normal horse and took the bad stuff and developed an OCD. That's not really what happens. So exercise helps to some degree, hurts to some degree. What they've shown is that horses that have too much or too little exercise are more predisposed. So somewhere in the middle is good. But it's not the only reason that they'll get these things. All right. I already showed you these. Please remember your anatomy. Very important. So we talked about this already. Let's just refresh a little bit. So the big joint up here, tibia tarsal joint, kind of same thing as the talus epinion. Not we consider that a separate joint pouch. But remember how big this one is. Okay. All right. Proximal intertarsal, distal intertarsal, tarsometatarsal. Which of the two that we generally see osteoarthritis in, like your wear and tear working career horse? Distal and I don't think I'll go through this again. You guys already saw it. So, what's this? Sorry. What part of the bone is this? Here, a lot of medial, lateral. Luigi knows, right? Lateral trochlear ridge. Luigi's nose, L for Luigi, L for lateral, which makes this one what? And this area right here, what bone is this? Tibia. So what part is this? Is it the proximal part of the tibia? No. It's the distal. What else? Distal. Three more words. Say it again. The dirt. Yes, so dirt. What does that stand for? Distal. Of the tip. It's right. So distal intermediate ridge of the tibia. So here's the tibia. Here's the distal part of it. Right there in the intermediate part. So that is where you'll see your dirt lesion. Well, actually, okay. All right. Quick reminder on the stifle. What's this bone? Right. This is the femur. These back here are the condyles. Here, oh look, some other trochlear ridges. But is the lateral one the big one in the cycle? No, it's the medial, because medial is a mountain. I think we looked at this enough. So, where are you most likely to see OCDs? Really, really commonly, we'll see them in the hocks, the stifles, and the fellocks. Probably the hocks and the stifles. Well, I was going to say more than the phellock, but you know you see a lot of those too. So, just hocks, stifles, fellocks. But they can occur anywhere. Most commonly, you guys are going to be seeing them in those forms there. Okay. Hallmark of OCD, is that it almost always occurs in a certain part of the joint. Okay. So if I give you a hock, what did I tell you the most common place for it to have an OCD is? Y'all just said it before. Yell it out. Dirt. Yeah. So the dirt lesion is the most common site in the hock, right? We also have them on the lateral trochlear ridge, medial malleus, that sort of thing. So they have certain sites. They're not just going to randomly sit in some place that I'm not mentioning. Very rarely anyway. So in the stifle, they're going to be on one of those trochlear ridges I just told you. So remember, when you see an OCD, it's probably going to be one of those sites. So here's the list. All right, so hock, Distal intermediate ridge of the tibia, which is your dirt lesion, lateral trochlea, same thing, trochlear ridge of the talus, and then medial malleolus. Stifle is your yellow, right? So lateral trochlear ridge of the femur, can be these other spots. Especially know the ones higher on the list, guys. Okay, so if I had it in yellow, or it's like the second one, you should probably be comfortable with that. Fetlock, I think I've got some images, but dorsal sagittal ridge, basically right in the middle at the end of the metacarpus or metatarsus. These ones down here I listed because this one has been questioned whether it's an OCD. This other one here is not considered an OCD. So we have these three little things that look really common in the fetlock. The one we know is an OCD origin is the first one, okay? Shoulder, caudal aspect of the humeral, just know sometimes they can get in the shoulders. Look at all that orange. So they're often bilateral in tibiotarsal okay. So hocks and cycles are often bilateral. Okay. More than 50% of horses. So if I find an OCD on the left hind, what am I going to do? Very good. I'm going to look at the other one, right? Because what would suck is if you say, okay, great, I've got this OCD, bring it into my hospital, super, I fixed this OCD, send the horse home, and they're like, oh, he's got one on the other side, too. Now we have to have another surgery. So if you're going to do surgery, you should know if there's one on the other side, who's take care of that at the same time. And often quadrilateral in the fetlock joint. So that means you can have all four legs that have them.
For bilateral, what prognosis on that? And is quadrilateral pretty good prognosis if you do surgery?
Let's talk about prognosis soon, as we're going to. Radiograph the other ones. So, typically what you'll see is a young horse, approximately 1 to 3 years old. Now, we have this approximate age because what it really breaks down to is when we start working this horse. So before the horse is starting to be trained, he's out in the field, he's not really being asked to do anything, you're not going to see much of that. Then they say, okay, this horse is 2 years old, it's time to break him, it's time to start training him. Now I'm starting to see joint effusion. I may or may not see lameness. Oftentimes what you'll see is just a very effusive joint. I think I got a photo from that. Yep. Okay. You know, I've got a young horse, I'm starting to work him, but his hook is really swollen. He doesn't seem lame, but goodness gracious, look at those hocks here. Did I give you a term that talks about, you know, a large amount of effusion in the hock joint? Yeah. What was it? Effusion? Not wind puffs, those are in the fella. You had a slide. Say it. Bog spasm. Remember that whole thing about like the fluid, the swamp, you know? So that is what it actually looks like. So this is a bog spasm, this is a bog spasm. What joint does that occur in? Is it the low motion arthritis joint? No, it's the big one, right? Which is what? Tibiotarsal. Okay. Alright, so this is like an extreme example. You're not going to really see them very often, they're that bad, but it's good for a photo. And this one here is the stifle. We don't call that box spasm. Box spasm is just an out. And you very rarely see a stifle that is that effusive, but that's, you know, it's a nice cover. So, remember I told you the dirt lesion is probably the most common one you'll see. You guys check it out. So these are, let's say, the same. This is a lateral or close to a lateral, and this is an oblique, right? So here's the tibia. I go distal. I actually do see it on here just because it's big, but you don't often see it on this lateral super well. But when I go to an oblique, look at that thingy right there. I don't have a circle here, but there it is right there. Okay, so distal, intermediate ridge of the tibia. You see it on this oblique. Here's another one. Okay, a little smaller on this one, right? But still nicely present. Here's another version of what you might see. Okay, so here's the lateral trochlear ridge. Okay, you see the roughness right here? So you don't always have a nice discrete little chunk like that, where you can see the parent bone and then you can see just a little boulder in there. Sometimes it just looks like an overall roughness. Okay, maybe there's a little chunk that kind of flaked off there, but remember, it can just look like this. You don't have to have a discrete little chunk. Oh, we already talked about this, so we're good, right? So here's your OCD causes. All this yellow is the huge amount of fluid in that tibio-tarsal joint, causes bog spasm. Bone spasm is when we had our osteoarthritis, and you guys correctly told me that is in the distal intertarsal and the tarsal intertarsal. So a normal stifle is going to look like this. It's going to look like this grossly. I don't know how well that's showing up on the screens there. You can kind of see that right there. You see the roughness right there? Okay. Here's what it looks like grossly. So you can kind of see normal cartilage, and then you have this delineation. And you know, if I put a curette in there, it would just pop off probably. So that is the lateral trochlear ridge. This is hard to see, but if you look really closely, you can see that this kind of part goes higher. So this is the medial is a mountain over here, so that means this one has to be the lateral trochlear ridge. Same thing over here. Look at this. This side is much bigger, right? So medial trochlear ridge is the bigger one. Here's my lateral trochlear ridge. And see? No, this is normal.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah. So this is normal stifle, nothing to see. Although you can see the medial trochlear ridge better just because of the radiograph. Better. That's your medial. It's on there, it's bigger. This is your lateral, but there's nothing missing. And here, that little chunk in right there. Okay. So in many cases, when you get into surgery, you're going to actually see a lot more than when you are just taking a radiograph. So. And they can have this appearance here. This one you actually get a little chunk off of there in the radiograph, but sometimes, remember, you just get that weird roughened, flattened area. And then you get into surgery and you see that this is just a big kind of ball of mush that you can scoop out like ice cream. So remember, the cartilage doesn't show up on radiographs, right? The cartilage you just see is empty space. So if you had a chunk of bone that's been pulled off too, like this, then you'll see it. But if it's mostly cartilage and kind of hasn't brought any subchondral bone with it, that's when you have this like flattened area. Let's see what's flattened on. Oh, we're doing it. All right, so treatment. What do we do? So I'm going to start with non-surgical just because, you know, that's the way to start. But actual treatment, what we're going to do is recommend surgery. So this is not what you're going to recommend your clients. Some of them are not going to go for surgery, so this is just what else is left. But remember, even though I'm starting with this, surgery is what you're going to do on these horses for the best processes. So the only circumstance where this can work well is when you have a really young horse that's still doing some remodeling, or very, very mild cases. So sometimes if you have like a yearling, let's say, and it's a very small lesion, it's not clinical, it's not really diffusive yet, but you found it on, like, let's say, sales radiographs or something like that, those guys you can rest them, re-radiograph them later on, and some of those guys will actually remodel that lesion away. But it's not what you expect for the vast majority of cases. So, other things, you know, NSAIDs, I mean, is Phenobutazone going to change this whole situation? No. But let's say you have a client who just absolutely won't do surgery on their horse, even though we try to convince them why they should. Things you can do to make that horse comfortable are occasional NSAIDs. And then intra-articular medications, I'm talking about like injecting the joints, kind of like what I talked about in the arthritis slide. Okay, so you're putting steroid, you're putting, you know, hyaluronic acid, and a little antibiotic. That's your typical joint injection cocktail. Now, when I do that, here costs, depending on how many joints I do, $250 to $500 per set of injections. Okay, which is actually pretty cheap. It's not expensive, but so how long did I tell you that is usually will last? So if I'm doing a joint injection, I'm going to tell the owner this hopefully will last your horse about how long? So every 6 months, right? Best case scenario you do. Arthroscopy, it's about $1,500 to $2,000. So if I'm doing this every 6 months, it costs $500. You know, I only have to do it a few times before it becomes more expensive than just doing the surgery. And the surgery, depending on the lesion, is often a one and done. Works beautifully, you're good. So here's our gold standard, is arthroscopy. All right, so what arthroscopy is, you guys have a general idea, but basically you're putting a scope into one part of the joint, then you're putting a portal, instrument portal into the other side, and you're triangulating, so you're like playing with it. This is my most favorite surgery. So what you'll do is you'll go in there with the probe, and you'll kind of go to the location where you know the issue is occurring on the radiographs, and you'll find the area, and then you'll take this curette right here and scoop out all the unhealthy cartilage and the subchondral bone, anything that looks like this, and anything that scoops out softly when you have that curette there. You can basically scoop an ice cream. So when you get to the part of the bone where it starts scratching and grating and it feels hard again, then you stop, because that's the healthy bone. And what happens is that this will fill in with fiber cartilage and create not the exact surface of the normal cartilage that was there before, the hyaline cartilage, but it's going to fill in with fiber cartilage, and this has a generally really, really good prognosis. Most OCDs in your typical spots, the horse goes on to an athletic career and you never have to look back. Any questions on that? All right, so most joints, good to excellent. They do tons of these. Any place with a lot of breeding, a lot of racehorses, they're just knocking these out every day, and those horses are going on daily basis and stuff. Shoulder is guarded. Right? There's a lot of things about the shoulder. It's hard to get to surgically. It bears a lot of weight. You need really, really good congruity. So shoulder is kind of the exception. Everywhere else usually does really well, unless you have just a horrible, horrible lesion that's beyond what you see normally, or you don't get to the linear bone. So if I get a 10-year-old horse that's this OCD for the past 8 years, you probably got other problems. You probably got arthritis by now, but usually you're finding them in the linear bone. All right, so that's OCDs. Question? So subchondral bone cysts. Think of this as like a cousin of the OCD. They're both kind of from the same family, that osteochondrosis family. But you can end up with an OCD. Sometimes you can end up with a subchondral bone cyst. So what are they? I'll show you a picture in a second, but they're radiolucent areas of bone with a sclerotic rim. Maybe I'll just show you a picture real quick. So radiolucent, so it's like a black hole here, but if you look around here, it's got a sclerotic rim, like a little whiter rim around there, right? Here's another one, sclerotic around the edge, black hole. You can have just one hole, you can have multiples. Here's the difference between, these are like the mean cousin of the family. So these are a serious causal lameness, very difficult to treat. Kind of different than the OCD. OCDs, remember, our prognosis is good to excellent. Do surgery, get them done. Great, most of the cases. Bone cysts are. So usually you'll find them in the subchondral bone, underlying articular cartilage, in a weight-bearing area of the joint. Okay, so right here. Usually they're on the upside too. So if I have a joint in the middle, like here's the downside, here's the upside, they're usually above the joint here, rather than down here. Interestingly, look at this. Remember talking about arthritis? What arthritis looks like in a stifle? Look at that. That's a really good example of that big old point, right? So what I think happened with this is that this huge subchondral bone cyst is making so much damage in the joint that he's got a secondary arthritis. Okay, that's a really good example of what arthritis looks like in a stifle. And here's what it might look like arthroscopically. You've got your normal cartilage surface, and then all of a sudden you fall into this like hole. And when you get into that hole, that's what you're end up in. There are differences between the way this presents and the way an OCD presents. Usually, young horses, about the same age. And the older horses for other reasons. Usually young horses the same age, but here's the difference. OCD, you're going to have that effusive joint, but you're not necessarily going to be linear. These guys are gonna be lame, they may or may not have the adhesive joint, so kind of the opposite, right? So like OCDs, you tend to get lame when the training begins, but you can also see these pop up in older horses, often with osteoarthritis going along with it, just like this. So this did not happen, yesterday. This is something that's been going on for a while for this horse to get that arthritis. Okay, so the etiologies. Remember I talked about them being a cousin in that osteochondrosis context. So it can be osteochondrosis starts, turn into OCD or self-following bone cyst. That's one thing. Okay, so it could be part of that osteochondrosis complex, but could happen in a different way, just really kind of dramatically, and it's like that. So there can be a little, some sort of bad step, some sort of damage to the cartilage. There's a lot that occurs in the cartilage, and that synovial fluid pushes in a little bit more, and pushes in, and kind of hollows out, that area in the bone, because that synovial fluid gets in there. And also once that inflammation starts too, you have this vicious cycle of the degradative complexes produced by all these molecules. So they kind of work to resorb the bone. So the center, here's the bone cyst here. This, interestingly, is not a bone cyst. I think I showed you this picture before. So this is just like the appearance of the long fascial bone. Here's the bone cyst. And you don't necessarily see a nice entrance into the joint, but it's probably there. So this is what these things can look like. They're this myxomatous, which is like a kind of a necrotic, fatty type tissue, or like dense fiber.